I want to read how Lovecraft has, of course, unintentionally and unknowingly, much later in his life and after his death, he has influenced some of the crazy theories, including one religion. So I want to just read some of the quotations and get again from the scholar Colavito, and you guys can expound. So two theories that he influenced again unknowingly. Um, the first one is the ancient astronaut theory, and the second one is unfortunately Scientology. So let's read one of the quotations when it comes to the ancient astronaut theory. One of the most dramatic ideas found in H.P. Lovecraft's weird fiction known as Cthulhu mythos is the suggestion that the extraterrestrial beings arrived on Earth in the distant past. They were responsible for ancient works of monumental stone architecture and inspired mankind's earliest mythologies and religions. In the 1970s, this basic premise was resurrected as the ancient astronaut theory, a fringe hypothesis that gained widespread popularity thanks to Swiss author Erich von Daniken's book Chariot of the Gods. It was also accepted throughout this time that this author was a correspondent of Lovecraft, right? No letters survive to this day, unfortunately, and both he and some other authors who are called the fathers of the modern ancient astronaut theory, which they wrote about in the book called "The Morning of the Magicians" in the 1960. They translated and published the first French editions of the Lovecraft's work. Again, this is from Colavito. So again, unintentionally, because we have to give another credit to Lovecraft. Lovecraft was an atheist, but he also wasn't trying to invent anything. He was besides his mythos. So we'll see later how his influenced Scientology. Again, he wasn't trying to invent a religion. He wasn't trying to invent any of those things. He admits, and I like his sincerity. Like he doesn't believe in supernatural, not just when it comes to Christianity. He doesn't believe in supernatural when it comes to the other stuff. So it can be occult, New Age, other religions, doesn't matter. He was just creating his fictional mythos, and that's fine. Just the same way Tolkien was doing, or C.S. Lewis, right? That's fine. So he didn't believe and did not intend for his mythological fictional work to influence others. Yet, throughout the history in the last century, we see how what he was writing, authors who came after him translated his work, especially in this case, it was in French. And this couple of gentlemen, I don't know how to pronounce their French names. One was Bergier, and another one was Powell. It's not Powell because it's spelled differently. Again, they're the fathers of modern ancient astronaut theory. They read Lovecraft, and even though they know it's fiction, I don't know if they thought that somehow he received some information, revelation from the other side that I don't know that inspired him to write. But that inspired them in their further work to come up with this ancient astronaut theory, and it has inevitably found some of the sources in Lovecraft. Again, even though he didn't want to do that. So, like, what do we do with this information?
Sean, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah. Well, I would say that first of all, ancient astronaut theory, in my mind, is exactly what the character Screwtape was thinking of when he told Wormwood, I hope someday that we can reveal ourselves to the humans without any idea of spirituality attached to it. So that way there's no chance that they will look for our enemy, which would be God, by seeing us. So I think that's exactly what Screwtape was thinking about. And interestingly, I think Lewis was writing that around the same time that Lovecraft was writing his stuff. When Lovecraft was writing, basically nobody really knew who he was. Derleth was the one who paid for it to be translated into French, and because the French loved Poe so much, they instantly took that up, and it didn't really become popular again in America until the 60s and 70s. Um, but yeah, I definitely ancient aliens that if you remove the idea that they're from other planets and you understand that they're demons, I think you can just understand, yeah, all the ancient alien stuff, probably true. Did the demons help people do things? Yep. Absolutely guarantee that they did. Did they teach them weird technologies? Yeah, the Book of Enoch says that they showed them all kinds of stuff. Um, but yeah, ancient astronaut theory is just a polysyllabic way of saying demons.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely true. There's a gentleman at my church who's a historian, and he said he likes to watch Ancient Aliens because he feels like it's really the only show on the History Channel that tells true history. But you have to sort of separate from the fact that they're ascribing all this stuff to aliens. But if you do that, then yeah, it's actually not bad history. And I can see where they draw influence from Lovecraft. I think it's interesting that you said like it's an unintentional influence. And I think it is, but I also think that it's intentional on their part in the sense that I don't really think these are honest people coming to these conclusions in honest ways. So I think that they draw from the popularity of Lovecraft and they're like, hey, if people like these as stories, what if we told them it was true? And then how much money could we make if we turned this into a religion?
It was aliens. That's the answer to everything. It was aliens. Pyramids, aliens.
Aliens.
How we came to be aliens. Everything aliens. The film aliens. Shapeshifters aliens. Everything.
Everything is aliens. Oh, but yeah, I mean it's fascinating, and it is a strange worldview to take, and it's very materialistic. And I think your point about screw tape is awesome. I think that's exactly what Ancient Aliens is. And again, I've talked about this on my YouTube channel because I like to talk about weird stuff and where weird stuff intersects with Christianity. And one of the things I've talked about is the fact that I truly believe that all of these, anything that's real in the experience of alien abductions is demonic. And you can see that because if you look at, texts from ancient times or the Middle Ages and how they describe demonic manifestations, it's really similar to stories about alien encounters. And also another thing that a lot of people don't know is the similarity between alien encounters and people's encounters with fairies. So, like, for example, what do fairies do? Well, they usually find children, and then you're in the woods, and then you encounter this entity that says, hey, come to my house. And then you're in this strange place surrounded by things that are totally foreign to you. You're unable to move. Maybe there's somebody experimenting on you. They wouldn't say experimenting, but there's somebody touching you in weird ways. There's somebody doing weird stuff to you. And then they give you some kind of weird food. You eat it. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're back on Earth and you're back in the world you came from. It's the same sort of thing people say about alien abduction. They're frozen in place. They're in a strange place surrounded by things they've never seen before. The only difference between fairy encounters and alien encounters is that fairy encounters are explained with magic and alien encounters are explained as technology. So where fairy encounters, you're in like some kind of bizarre hut that doesn't look quite right. In alien encounters, you're in some kind of bizarre metal sphere that doesn't look quite right. Either way, it's the same kind of concept. You're in a very exceedingly foreign environment with semi-human entities doing bizarre things to you, whether that's sticking probes into you or whether that's, touching you with objects, whatever it is, whether it's fairies or aliens, they're doing the same thing. And if you think about it, even the description of these things is kind of similar. Aliens are little tiny gray men or green men, depending on what era it is, but they're little tiny men who walk around naked and, you know, talk to you through their mind. Fairies are little tiny men who walk around naked and talk to you through their mind. So it's like, all of these kinds of things have really dramatic similarities. And one of the first ever alien encounters, or one of the first ever what today people call UFO encounters, was actually originally reported as a ghost story, not an alien encounter. And it was only like 20 years later that the children involved, when their father was marketing it, he started marketing it as an alien encounter because that was way more popular in the 50s than ghost stories. So he started marketing it that way. But when it was originally told, it was told as a ghost story. So all that is to say that I completely agree with Sean. And I also believe that 100% Screw Tape was spot on in that this is exactly what demons are actively doing, and it's a demonic deception that is being presented to people as an attempt by demonic entities to deceive us into either I don't know fully what their goal is, but I assume that it involves pulling us away from God to either worship them, or I think through artificial intelligence there could potentially be some sort of effort to bring them into a kind of physical existence, because we see that in a lot of ancient texts that this is what Nephilim are. They're demonic entities' effort at uniting themselves to the physical world in some way. And so I would not be at all surprised if different AI programs are the exact same thing repeating itself. And we even named one of the biggest AI programs Moloch. So tell me I'm wrong. You know, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, and just to back you up on the aliens and fairies thing, you know, fairies were very prominent across Eurasia until Christendom came in, and then where you see Christ, these things kind of begin to flee, and then they're recounted as stories or fairy tales. So, where Christendom takes dominion, the principalities and powers have to leave. As we live in a post-Christian age, we start now seeing these things come in this other form of technology. I can't remember who the author is that said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. It sounds like Joseph Campbell, maybe. But somebody like that said, you know, and there's a lot of truth to that. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I think the ancient aliens guys would make that exact same point, that what they thought was magic was probably technology. Mm-hmm. And what we think of as technology is probably demonic magic.
And they're not 100% wrong, right? Like the Book of Enoch talks about that. Like the same entities that taught us how to do, you know, certain acts of metallurgy were also behind teaching us witchcraft. So there's a bizarre, I mean, even like the Book of Enoch says that says that Azazel taught mankind how to practice making of excellent weaponry, but he also taught them how to beautify themselves with makeup. It's like those two things seem totally different, but they're ascribed to the same entity.